in October, last October, when I started reading up on the farm laws, because wanted to know what these farm laws are about. And actually, I came across Devinder's articles. I came across many other articles, and I started seeing some of the situation in America. The first thing I read about was farmer suicides. It was something that, to me, I didn't know that farmer suicides are happening in these numbers, in accelerating numbers in America. America is supposed to be the land of opportunity, the land of milk and honey, God's own country, you name it. And farmer suicide, so that's what, then I started going in deeper, and one of the advantages or disadvantages I have is that once I go into something, I go into something. That's my researcher background. So I started looking at it, and it very, very soon became clear that everything that India is trying to do today has happened in America for the last 40 years or so. And so I said that, okay, there's no better way to to bring it out than chronicling it, going and talking to farmers, going and seeing their experience. So, and I'm not alone. I mean, there are 4 of us took this trip. It was a crazy trip, actually. In the middle of COVID, that was a time COVID was in very big way present in America. It was cold. It was cold like hell. It was freezing conditions, actually, in January. So we took this trip, and here are these 4 brown people in the middle of, as white in America as you can get. We talk to black farmers as well, but it's white America. It's a Trump country. I mean, this is the place which voted for Trump, and here we are in a Toyota, which is a foreign car, driving through Iowa and Missouri and Kansas and Wisconsin. But I can talk about a lot of things, and probably I should stop talking. But one thing I would say that the farmers, the kind of welcome they gave us is very, very heartwarming. You talk about xenophobia, racism, and all that. They were welcoming. They wanted to speak. One of the senses I got in America is the farmers in America are forgotten. They're abandoned. They don't have a voice. They don't have outlets where somebody is hearing their stories. I mean, that's true for America as well. So in fact, the documentary would be in 2 parts. Sort of the first part is bringing up the Indian experience, how what in India we are trying to do has already happened, and the disastrous consequences for small farmers, not for big farmers. For big corporations, it's been great, but for small farmers, it's a disastrous situation.
In America, if the farmers are getting a higher income, you'll be surprised. 40% of the average farm income actually comes from subsidies. It clearly demolishes the argument that markets leads to price discovery. If 40% income has to be compensated or supplemented by subsidies, it tells you clearly if the American government was to withdraw subsidy support, what will happen to their agriculture. I give you another example. In 2005, I completed a study called the first 10 years of WTO's agreement on agriculture, a global study for the WTO conference at that time, which was presented there. The point I'm trying to make is, in that I gave a very interesting study of cotton in America. Cotton, there were at that time 20,000 cotton growers. The total output in terms of value was $3.9 billion. The American farmers were getting a subsidy of $4.7 billion in 2005 to produce a crop of $3.9 billion. And that would depress the global prices, as a result of which farmers in Western Africa or farmers in India were priced out. We thought our farmers were inefficient farmers because their productivity was low. But in reality, it was just the opposite. Indian farmers were very productive or very efficient. It was the subsidies that actually sustained that American cotton movement. And then on top of it, America would provide a subsidy of about $147 million or $180 million to to the textile industry to buy the subsidized cotton. 80% of the subsidies that America and Europe provides for agriculture under the farm bills, they bring out a farm bill every 5 years, which makes the provision for subsidies. 80% of it is actually cornered by the corporations. Now, the 20% that remains is actually going to the small farmers, out of which the bigger farmers take away. Now, it's a very interesting. I must give you one. I did a report card some years back. Do we know in America among the biggest recipient of subsidies what that David Rockefeller is a big subsidy recipient in America. And now I'm sure our friend Bill Gates would be one of the biggest recipients of agricultural subsidies in America. Now, if you look into Europe, Europe is no better. Queen Elizabeth is a recipient of huge subsidy support because she has huge land in her name, and so she's one of the biggest recipients. Prince Charles is a big recipient of subsidies. The kings and queens of Denmark and Holland and Spain, they're all recipient of big subsidies.